Hi pals, it's me, Artie, then in pronouns only, and I forgot I was going to do this video until I don't even remember what it was that reminded me. I think somebody talking about it on Twitter. My video today is about my experience so far with reformer Pilates. So I've had a long and difficult history with exercise, mainly due to being hypermobile and nobody seeming to have really any idea, no understanding of what to do or how to deal with it or how to adapt exercise. But also as well, I have a lot of chronic fatigue that makes it difficult to even get up and do exercise, and of course chronic pain that can prevent me from exercising as well. I think on top of that, the more physical side of things, ADHD also plays a role in struggling to exercise, because if something is too easy, I'm way too bored to continue something. And then also the same thing happens if it is too difficult. I need something with a good combination of both ease and difficulty to keep the exercise or activity novel to me. And it's also really difficult for me to commit to something regularly, but also, as I've discussed in a few other videos, that all of the sort of invisible barriers to exercise, particularly in my personal circumstances, are a huge part of ADHD, preventing me from participating in exercise a lot of the time. So because of that, I have tried a huge number of different exercises and activities. So because of that, I have tried a huge number of different exercises and activities throughout the years. I've tried many different kinds of dance, including partner dances. I've tried a few martial arts. I've even done some team sports like ultimate frisbee when I was at university. I've tried just going to the gym. I've tried just going to classes or just taking classes, yoga online and in person, and I have also tried Pilates before and I really fucking hated it. After the last few years where reformers Pilates has kind of become a lot more of a spectacle and something for particularly YouTubers and other online influencers to do or try out for something funny to do for a video, I got curious about reformers Pilates. I started looking into if they were, if that was like even a thing in England or a thing in my area, because like I've said, I live very rurally. There aren't many big towns or cities nearby, so I just wasn't sure how much of a thing reformer Pilates was going to be, because in my view, it seems like a very online thing. It seems like, you know, you need to be in a particular influencer space to either see it all the time or to just see people trying it out as something just like funny to make a video about. So I just didn't know how popular it was going to be in my particular area. One of the main issues I found is that they were all just far more expensive than like most general exercise classes are. And yeah, it's mostly just because these machines are so big and probably expensive in themselves. You can only fit so many in a room, and a lot of the classes I did find were either one-on-one or like two two people to a trainer. But there were a few options, and I did decide to go with a small studio. It was basically mainly just to do with the location. For the most part, it was somewhere quite central with a car park not far, like too far away, and it was one of the cheaper options because they were a small studio and had 6 machines in the room. So rather than the typical price being anywhere between 50 and £80 for an hour, or 50 minutes really, it's more along the lines of £24, which is still a lot. Like I said, all of these were a lot more expensive than I don't know, had even assumed. And like, I think as well for the studio, that considering they only have 6 machines, that means there's still a lot of trainer on participant time to give you corrections and advice and help you, but also from a more like COVID cautious point of view, it's less people. However, I do go wearing my neck air purifier and using my viral nasal sprays because I definitely can't mask during exercise, unfortunately. And there's often not really space to bring my larger air purifier. And a lot of the times in the year, it's just they would not have the windows open. So I do tend to sort of leave the door open before I come in for a while and after I leave. But it is much less people, and I don't think they do many classes. The days I go, I'm pretty sure we are the first class of the day as well. So that's just pure luck, honestly. Obviously, it's not perfect from a COVID cautious point of view, but nobody gives a shit out there. So it's trying to balance the two things, being COVID cautious and trying to improve my disabilities and health in other ways. We live in hell. Also, something else to generally keep in mind with my own participation in these classes is that because I am still very early on in this journey, experience, I don't know, I still do not attend very regularly as I am trying to slowly build up to attending more regularly or doing more challenging classes. When I first started, it was just a one-off in I think August last year. I just wanted to give it a go, and also this studio had a complete introductory class, so that's what I went to, which is like just a class that you take once to kind of go through the things you need to know about using a reformer. Basically, I did find that class really difficult. I was in bed for the next 2 or 3 days afterwards, and I think I was just a bit too busy after that for a while to attend again. So I didn't attend for maybe another 1 or 2 months, where I just did the getting back into fitness class, which is for people who either haven't done exercise for a really long time or are disabled or recovering from an injury or a surgery. It's their pre-beginner class, basically. I mainly just didn't want to push myself too hard, so I wanted to start a complete as lowest as possible. And this class was a lot easier on my body compared to the first class I did, to the point that whilst, I did have a lot of physical body aches of the post exercise muscle aches, I didn't have the same total exhaustion as the first time, which was genuinely quite surprising to me. And again, I didn't get to go for another month or so, but I had the same experience when I did the same level class. So like I said, the cost of these sessions are £24, and that's for an up to 6-person class. They do also have bundles available that you can, you pay for a certain amount of classes and you get some money off. But honestly, there's really not a huge difference in price. Like, it's not massively worth it. I think I bought 10 sessions, and I think they end up being only about £2 cheaper, which, like, sure, probably is a saving of what, like £20, but like, considering you tend to have to keep a lot of things in mind when you pay for these bundles, like when they run out, how often are you actually going to use them, that they may not work for you in a particularly great way. The extra £1 or £2 off isn't really going to be like a massive game changer. For me, it's just kind of one of my hacks occasionally, that once I actually like doing something to try and get into a habit of going more regularly, is that I've already paid for 10 sessions. I hate that as a scheme in general with a lot of other, classes and stuff, where they're like, you have to pay for 6 classes up front, you can't even try for the first time. Like, just let people have the options, because I don't know if I'm going to like this activity enough to pay for 6 to 10 sessions. Also, there is like one decent policy of this studio that I go to, is that they have a cancellation policy like 24 hours. So you can cancel the day before, as long as it's obviously before the time of the class, which is quite rare for like most things in general. So it is a bit more chronically ill friendly. Yeah, that's something that I never really fully appreciated before, but now being chronically ill and often having last minute appointments or last minute flare ups of symptoms, or if I last minute my sleep is really shitty for no reason, it has been nice to know that I have the ability to cancel the day before. So yeah, that was sort of all the stuff of me first trying it. When it came to the new year, I think it was sometime at the end of December is when I bought those 10 sessions. But for the new year, I'd made that decision of I wanted to try and make going to Reformer Pilates once every 2 weeks one of my 2025 goals. Obviously, with the flexibility of like sometimes life is happening and you can't always go every week, or like I've said, with my chronic health issues, I can't always attend when I want to. But like with the general goal of attending every other week as much as possible to start building strength and muscle to help support my joints and whatever else muscles do, man, I don't know anymore. Like, I knew I needed to try and make it something more consistent, but I knew weekly would be too much for me. But in general, so far, we are at the start of May. It has been going reasonably well. I have gone, every other week, except from when I had a London appointment. I couldn't really fandangle it. So there have been a couple of weeks where I've gone one after another, or there's been like a slightly larger gap of 2 weeks between sessions, but I have still been going regularly and I still haven't quite used up all of my 10 sessions yet. And I'm still doing the getting back into fitness classes. They provide 2 of those a week at the same time on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They are run by 2 different people, so it also ends up just having a natural variety anyway from there being 2 different instructors. And then also I like that they are like the same time on different days, because I like daytime exercise. I don't really want to be up super early and I don't want to be up late because my energy is about done by 5 unless I'm preparing to like go out for the night, and I don't really wake up in the morning super great, so I don't really want to be hopping out of bed at 8 o'clock. I know people get up earlier than that, but I don't. I do not. So yeah, it gives me that flexibility of if there's something going on that the week I'm supposed to go to a class on the day that I usually go, then I can just book the other day. So if I'm busy on a Thursday, I can just book it on a Tuesday and vice versa. And that also helps keep me going every other week. And then also, yeah, because of the 2 different instructors, that also keeps the classes interesting with their natural variability. So yeah, doing a mixture of the different days helps keep me interested in the classes and keep actually attending. When I first started the classes, I thought it was definitely like a very interesting way of doing Pilates rather than on the mat. I've tried Pilates on the mat, and I honestly just really hate it. Like I've done it properly in like gym classes a couple of times, and I think that they kind of have tried to incorporate it in a few things in performing arts courses I've done, PE in secondary school, and like they've all just been terrible. I hate all of them. And I know that there is a history of how it was developed, that basically it was developed for disabled people and for incarcerated people, but I personally just never really liked it. It's not good for my disability and my personal experience. I just find it too difficult to do with my rubbery joints. I was always unable to hold myself up into the positions you're supposed to do. I was more likely to hurt myself rather than strengthen the correct muscles. So I found that the machine itself was great, and that you were kind of automatically in a more supported position. which then led to me being more likely to actually use the correct muscles for the exercise rather than just using compensatory muscles that have adapted to my disability for my whole life. I've always been lacking in core strength as well, so at least I have a lot more support from the machine, even though sometimes it does feel like you're in a more dangerous position due to the machine and the other accessories and some of the moves you have to do. But it's not actually as terrifying as it can look when you are first starting the classes. I did, however, find that I had some issues in the very first session I did to do with having a very sensitive response to motion. The machines, when I first went, were facing away from the windows, and it made it quite difficult for my brain and my eyes to understand that I was in fact moving on this board, because all I could see was just a blank white ceiling. Nothing really moved or shown signs of moving, and it was just like a really horrible internal sense in my body, which was really off-putting and nauseating. It's kind of like if you've ever been on a boat of some kind, that when you get off, you still have that internal like motion, even though you're no longer on a moving ship. That alone almost put me off going again, but thankfully the next time I went, they had actually turned the machines around to face the windows, and now in your vision, when you're laying there, you can actually see the windows in sort of the lower part of your vision moving as you move on the board. And yeah, that has really helped with the nausea and vertigo that I personally was feeling, because you actually can like visually connect the movement to the movement your body is feeling. I would not necessarily recommend somebody who does get serious vertigo, especially more serious vertigo than myself. I would say that, like, yeah, sure, give it a go, but like be aware that that is an issue that I had, and I think you could possibly still have, even if you have got visual movement, motion sort of markers that you are moving. But yeah, I would say definitely tell the instructor and take it carefully. Some of the other issues I also do have with the reformer, Pilates in general, unfortunately, is related to adapting some of the moves. There are quite a few moves that we use in the class that I attend that involve holding on to like the end foot bar with your hands, and honestly this position in general has always been horrific on my wrists. Like, this is one of the positions that I've met men who, if they are to do push-ups, they do them on their knuckles, because it provides more relief for the wrists rather than being in a flexed position. So I really hate these moves, like mainly for the wrist position. One of the main frustrations is that one of the teachers often just says you have to lift up and out of your wrists, which doesn't make any sense for one. Also, I'm pretty sure I am doing what she's intending with that statement, and it makes no fucking difference. It still hurts because I have bad wrists. Like, just because I'm doing something properly doesn't mean it's right for my body to do. Because she basically just means that you need to have like the correct posture, which I do when I'm doing that, where, you know, your shoulders aren't like scrunched up or really tense, and you're not tensing in your neck. Like, I've gotten good at that, and it still fucking hurts. But I think it's a mixture of the position of my wrists on the bar, the size of the bar, because it's quite a thick bar, so it's not like you can really kind of, you know, fake, you know, that sort of wrist position that I mentioned just now of push-ups. You could probably like fake this with a smaller bar, but because the bar is so big, you would basically just be risking your well-being. Then also my hands get really sweaty doing this exercise, so any grip I did have before I no longer had, because my hands are just very wet from being sweaty, and it just causes more sliding, which then causes more intense grip involved, and it all just gets worse. So yeah, my mum did mention something about possibly getting gloves. So I think it'll be something I will be looking into at some point. I don't really know what ones to look into or for, because I think partially, yes, I need something that soaks up the sweat in my hands, but also we have to wear little grippy socks in these sessions. Like we have to buy our own and wear them because it's part of like a safety measure to help keep your feet being able to stay on the bar. So I think I need some gloves that have some grippy pads to it. But then also, are there maybe gloves out there that would actually also provide a better wrist support? Yeah, I'm not sure if that's something that exists, but it should, and someone should go and make them. So thanks. Let me know. Let me know when you've done that. And like occasionally I can do some of those moves and alter it to leaning on my forearms instead. And that's fine when I can do that. But there are a lot of moves that just don't really accommodate leaning so far forwards. So yeah, I have been going to Reformer Pilates consistently now for like 4 to 5 months, and I am still finding the classes challenging enough to carry on attending at this level or not bumping it up to weekly or attempting to go weekly. It's also quite nice that there are quite a few different class levels available, because it gives me sort of a hope for quite a long future of me doing Pilates. That, you know, once I feel I'm getting good at this level, I can bump it up to weekly, and then I can try the beginning sessions, or I can try the one up. And I think there's like 3 or 4 other levels. So yeah, if it keeps, you know, being good for my brain and something that my body is also actually enjoying doing, then it's something that I can see myself being able to actually do for a long time. I've not noticed a lot of differences yet, obviously, both physically or any kind of symptom wise. I don't know if I necessarily feel stronger or any fitter. I think I may be seeing some signs of improvement when it comes to, interestingly, my dysautonomia kinds of symptoms. I think the muscle strengthening and getting the blood pumping around my body may be benefiting my dysautonomia, particularly when it comes to blood flow, as I have been experiencing less symptoms and less issues than normal. But then also, we still have to keep in mind that I came off of my ADHD medications around 2 months ago now. And every time I take a one-off pill, I feel like I experience more side effects I didn't realize were side effects. So like the other day, I took one and I had bad chest pain and that horrible gripping headache pain. And I really thought that both of those were dysautonomia, because I had them so often. I didn't realize I wasn't having those pains anymore. And I mean, I definitely did have them as well off of the medication and before I started ADHD medication, but probably just not as often. I still do struggle with a lot of aspects of Reformer Pilates because of, you know, all of my different health conditions and past injuries. I particularly find, you know, my right arm is difficult to use, obviously due to Takayasu's. I also struggle with flexibility of my hamstrings, even though it is not. People argue about whether it's my hamstrings or just really tight calf muscles, but either way, like all up the backs of my legs is really tight. Even though I'm still flexible, I can't, like, for example, squat with my heels on the ground. Like, they go up really quickly. I've never been able to do that. So like when I have to try to straighten out that, especially my ankle area, yeah, I struggle getting into those positions when they're asking. There are also some moves that I do find painful for my lower back, or like just positions to be in that are uncomfortable for my lower back. And then also, yeah, the last 3 sessions from when I'm filming this, I've had some really painful, very high upper thigh slash maybe like a groin area sort of pulling pain with certain moves. I did approach the trainer in the last session about this, and she suggested that it might be helpful to use heavier weights on those. I don't really understand how this works, but supposedly the heavier weight provides more support. Yeah, that's something that I just struggle to wrap my head around, is like what means more support and what means less in Pilates on the reformer. But yeah, like I don't really know how that works, and I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but I will in a few days. So maybe I'll add a clip in after I've done it and see if that.
Has anything changed, Artie? Back to you.
Thank you, Artie. I have indeed been back into the class, and we did try heavier weights for this one particular move, and I am happy to announce that it has made a difference, and I do not have any more groin pain groin pain in my sessions when doing this particular move. So it turns out I did indeed just need a little bit more weight on the Pilates machine. We found the source. Back to you at the station.
But also, if it does help, it could definitely mean that I'm either getting stronger or maybe I've lost weight. I hadn't really considered that until I was here talking to the camera. My classes are pretty much entirely filled with elderly people most of the time, which has always been fine to me. I almost always end up going to the classes that were just full of ancient old biddies whenever I've done any kind of exercise, Tai Chi, yoga, line dancing as well. That's lots of old people. I think
it's because they're the generation with spare fucking money to have hobbies.
Anyway, occasionally there are like some younger women, very rarely some younger men in these classes. A lot of the times they will be recovering from a surgery or from an injury of some kind on like a joint, usually like a knee. Usually a knee. Yeah, a lot of the times I don't tend to see those same people ever again. A lot of the other classes I've done have a high turnover of other people participating, whereas the Tuesday sessions is pretty much the exact same 5 old biddies and then me. So far that's been my experience of doing reformer Pilates. I know it is like quite a bit more expensive than most other classes, but if you have been like me and really struggle to find anything that is interesting but also like actually something you can do and participate in, I do recommend at least trying it, because yeah, this is basically something that I have decided to budget towards with my pip money. Because also, like, Pilates is one of the few exercises that continually, repeatedly, and forever is suggested and promoted by many healthcare practitioners, whilst they are starting to get a better understanding of how yoga and ballet can actually be really beneficial to hypermobile people. Before that, it was literally always Pilates, 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 even though there's not a huge amount of fucking difference between Pilates and yoga. So, yeah, I basically, if anybody wants to ask, I'll tell them that everybody fucking tells me I should do it, so I'm doing it. Why are you mad that I'm spending so much money doing it?
I am disabled, bitch.
So yeah, like I decided to use some of my paycheck from the government for that, because, and I do think it is helping me. Like I said, I don't think I'm feeling a huge amount of difference, but in general, I think this year I am feeling a bit more physically stable, or like, well, I definitely still get blips, and I really struggle with my fatigue at the moment. And fuck me, headaches are still a bitch when they decide to turn up. But I feel like there's definitely a lot of symptoms and health issues that have started to chill the fuck out a little bit. And I have just been enjoying feeling able to go outside and move in that way. So yeah, I don't know if there's any other, if you have any questions I haven't answered in this video, let me know in the comments, because like this is me just blabbing about what I've personally noticed from this experience, my personal thoughts of what pros and cons are and could be. And I also feel like as I started this in sort of like, you know, winter basically, it's been a good way to know whether it's something I'll actually carry on, is if I can cope with attending when it's cold outside. Because God, when it's cold outside and I've got to walk from a car park, usually that's a dead no for me. So also, if you take Reformer Pilates wherever you are in the world, let me know your thoughts. That is my Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad. Da, 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 da. Go and watch my video talking about the ADHD and Me documentary with Tanya Bardsley, because that's where I was talking about barriers to exercise for ADHDers. But besides that, that is all I have for you this week, and I'll see you next week. Bye.